Welcome back to It's My Project, and I will cry if I want to. Here with the crane again. So in the last video you probably would have seen me move a furnace, and it actually worked pretty well. I did have a few hiccups though with the hydraulics, and one of the things that happened, which was a little worrying, was at one point I hit a lever and something else happened than the lever that I pulled. And I think that must mean that there's some bypass happening. And I don't think it's in the cylinders, because that wouldn't really make sense. Because it crossed from one control to the other, there's two places that I think it may possibly be. The first place is in the valve assembly. So the way that these are set up is the inlet and outlet on the valves is shared, and then they're kind of sealed off from each other. And I think maybe when I called for, say, the boom to go up, it was able to bleed that pressure because it called for so much pressure because of the weight. It bled that pressure through one of those seals and into one of the other functions. The other place that it could potentially happen is because this boom can rotate 360 degrees, there is a swivel joint, a hydraulic swivel joint in there, which basically also has seals separating different functions. And it's possible that if those seals leaked, something else might have happened when I, pulled on a lever. But we're going to start by looking into the valves. And the reason why is I'll show you. So here is my valve assembly. So you can see all the lines going in and out. Basically a big valve block there. And it might be a little hard for you to tell. Let me see. Oh, there was a drip right there from that line. But that's because if you look at that fitting right there, that is supposed to go straight up and down. And it's quite crooked. And I think probably what happened was somebody got a wrench on there and twisted it and twisted the whole fitting. So that leaks and needs fixed, and it looks like there's been quite a bit of leaking in general. So I'm just going to take that whole piece off and reseal the whole thing and fix that messed up fitting and fix any fittings that are leaking, replace whatever needs replaced there. And then when I put it back together, you can see these cables back here are actually, it'll focus on them right there. These cables back here are actually what come from the levers and actuate the valves, and they all could use adjusting. So there's a place to do some adjustment right here, and then back by the levers there's also a place to adjust them. So I need to get those all properly adjusted. So before I adjust any of those, like I said, I'm just going to take this apart, reseal it, fix it all up, put it back on, and go from there. And I'm also going to obviously do some of these hydraulic lines that I haven't done yet while I'm doing all this. It's going to be tough to get this cap on there. So as you can see, I'm holding basically the fitting part with one wrench and loosening the hose with the other. And I think that's basically what somebody did wrong, is why one of these fittings is so messed up, is if you don't hold the fitting, especially on these weird long elbows and T's that are coming out of this, which I think are all there just to give you room to put everything. If you don't hold those and you go wrenching really hard on these lines where they connect, instead of just tightening it, the leverage starts to bend or tweak these fittings, and I think that's what happened. somebody did it without holding onto the fitting properly. Alright, it's getting pretty dark, and this has been a bit of a nightmare. And very messy, of course, even though I tried not to make such a mess. So my biggest problem is the fact that I don't know if I messed up or the hydraulic shop messed up, but do not have the right caps and plugs for some of these fittings. And that's causing some of the mess, but it's also causing me to slow down. So as you can see, I'm using these orange plugs for some of this, and I'm also marking with some zip ties at this point, since I can't put plugs and caps that have letters on them. But I've got everything unhooked. Even this line's unhooked too, and then the rest of those fittings are just sticking down out. So all the hydraulic lines are unhooked now. The next thing I'm going to do is take off the cables. Back there's 3 cables. You should be able to see right, where's my finger? Right there. Those 3 cables are going to come off next. And then there's a couple bolts that hold the whole thing up, so I'm going to get those. I'm going to try and clean up a little bit down here. It's really hard. I can't really set a camera up down here because my camera probably doesn't like getting hydraulic fluid all over it. And as you can see, it's just an absolute mess under here. I'm trying to catch as much as I can, but it's getting pretty messy. I did take off a couple of whole rubber hoses and then a couple of pieces of hard line that come off. Or actually, it's not really hard line. It's kind of just a fitting. It's like an extended fitting. But the rubber hoses went to the outrigger, so I have those capped off. So I'm not sure, like I said, if the hydraulic shop messed up or me, but I had a list of the fittings that I should have needed based on what was in my manual. And I paid quite a bit for these fittings, but the money is not as important as the fact that I really just wish I had the right fittings right now. Never hurts to have extra fittings. I'm just starting to collect fittings, and you know, I want to have a bunch of the fittings that are common on this crane, you know, the plugs and caps, I mean, so that I can, you know, take things off and put things on and be able to plug and cap things. So I'm gonna have to figure out what these, you know, what size I actually need, why I don't have the size I need, and get them so that I can plug everything better. But for now, I'm gonna have to try and improvise with some of these, you know, universal type plugs and stuff to get me through, so I can get this out of here and then figure out what size I need and get all those plugs and caps. I'm going to try and get this off here before it gets too much darker, and then I will show you what it looks like. As you can probably tell, it's getting a little late. I did get the valve body down. I also made quite a mess. So I'm going to go ahead, clean up all my tools, clean up all my parts, get the valve body inside, probably just take a quick look at it, not take it apart or anything tonight. And then hopefully, you know, in the next couple days I'll get a chance, get that torn apart, start to look at what I can get, you know, replacement part wise. You know, I'm hoping all the spools and everything are fine. So here is the valve body inside. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3 valves in this. They're basically each their own little section that all hook together, and they share an input and an output. And basically all that happens is when you push or pull this spool, I believe they'd call it, it diverts fluid to one of these 2 lines from the pressurized fluid coming in, and, you know, causes it to extend or retract or whatever it is that it's doing. I'm not sure if it's possible for it to bypass across. I assume it would be possible, and that seems to be the problem I was having, is that it was bypassing across controls. So we're going to see if there's anything going on in here once I do get it apart, and we're going to see which parts and pieces I can actually get as far as seals and everything inside. I think the spools hopefully seal with O-rings, so I should be able to get those. I don't know if there's any special seals between them or if it's all just O-rings, but hopefully it's all parts that we can get. As you can see, here is my messed up fitting. You know, it's supposed to be straight up and down like this one, so obviously that got cranked on and bent. And, you know, it's surprising it didn't actually crack or anything and start to leak really bad, but it just seems not to seal up quite right. But that is a big part of why I'm in here. Obviously, the potential for the bypassing is part of it. And the fact that this is disgustingly filthy and covered in oil is an indication that there are leaks happening here. It's really hard to tell where those leaks are right now because the whole thing's covered in oil. So, you know, I could have tried cleaning it really well and then running it some and seeing where, but I think the right answer for this one is going to be just to clean the whole thing. And that's unbelievable. Do you see that? That was just hanging here crooked, and I just grabbed it with my fingers and it's broken off. That is broken off, and I believe that's one of the, like, yeah, I think that might hold the whole assembly together, these two, you know. So that's fun. We'll have to deal with that another time. But yeah, that's it for tonight. You know, I'm done there. I'm calling it there for tonight. I don't need this part tonight. I don't need this back on tonight. I don't have parts anyway. It's getting late. I'm going to go home and tackle this another day. Here's a little before on this valve body. Got a couple other parts I'm going to try and hit, but they're a little small, so they'll probably get blown away. And I'm going to try and hit it with the old hot water pressure washer. Get her cleaned up, see what it looks like. Much better. Not quite perfect, but clean enough to work on for sure. So just a little teaser here. You can see I do have that valve body apart at this point, but you guys are probably gonna have to wait to the next video to see me actually take that apart and kind of go through how this works and with the parts that we need and the seals and everything. So it's actually been several weeks since the clips where I was cleaning up that valve body. As I just showed, I do have it apart. You'll get to see all that soon, hopefully. But basically, I've been busy with some other projects. I was hoping to be on that a little sooner. It looks like I'm gonna get back around to it here pretty soon. And like I said, I'll get a video out with me actually tearing that down and giving a little explanation of kind of the different pieces and how it works. And also, you know, replacing the seals and hopefully putting it back on and seeing if that does actually fix the problems that I've been having. I mean, it should hopefully at least fix any leaks. I should be done with leaks at that valve body then, but we'll see if it fixes any of the bypass symptoms or not. I also got into a few other projects on the crane, kind of, you know, while you're in there, you might as well kind of projects. So you'll see some of that soon, and that might kind of come in between now and you see me put this valve body back on, because some of that is kind of stuff that needs to be done, you know, in the midst of this happening. So look forward to seeing that. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go ahead and share with any friends you think might also enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one.